Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mac, and today we have a special double feature show and a very special guest. We are talking today about unlocking leadership potential, embracing release of control to gain mastery of 9 types of power in business and strategic property investment. So the first part of our show is going to be a special episode with a guest who has actually been interviewed on the show 2 times before, and everybody loves him. So I want to introduce one more time to you our good friend, John C. Morley. He is a serial entrepreneur, an engineer, marketing specialist, talk show host, and member of the U.S. Press Agency. He's a writer, video producer, and president of his local Chamber of Commerce. John has inspired children and adults of all ages to find their passion. Through his personality and knowledge, he gets people excited to learn about themselves, others, and of course, science. You can quickly check some of the past experiments he has conducted by going to YouTube and typing Science Fridays with John or visiting believemeachieve.com to see many of his other fabulous creations. John knows that not everyone learns in the same way, thus he prides himself on being dynamic and exciting and teaching from auditory, visual, and kinesthetic perspectives. So this week's show is about understanding how and why giving up control will give you more of it, and with the 9 types of leadership power that John will go into more deeply. Then after John shares his wisdom on business and leadership, I will be back for the last half of this hour, and I will be discussing how this leadership power that John is sharing about can be woven into having successful experiences in real estate, whether you are getting ready to buy your first home, looking to create passive income through a home or apartments, and then also what are the steps to leading in making decisions during this very interesting time in our economy. So that is what we will talk about today. Now get ready, and here is John. John, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Sheila, for a very warm and inviting welcome. It is a privilege and pleasure to be with you, collaborating on your show every Friday. And I look forward to getting to know all of you here that are listening, either live or that are watching us or listening to us on a podcast later on. And so my name is John C. Morley, as Sheila had said. I am a serial entrepreneur. And I will be relaying topics with you that will help you build tools that you can put in your tool belt that will help you achieve more financial stability, as well as help your business become more successful. And so today I want to talk about something that hinders a lot of people, especially people that are being led or shall I say, dictated to do things by management. So leadership is meant to empower, not disempower. And I recently wrote an article. You guys can check out that article by taking your smartphone and scanning the QR code, or you can simply visit believemeachieve.com. There's more great information there. And I'd also invite you to sign up for the next JCM Academy Masterclass. So typically an hour, and we have them quite frequently, so you can click on that. And I have a special actually offer for those that are watching today. If you use the promo code, all capitals, capital J, capital C, capital M, the number 9, capital C, capital AA. I'm sorry, that's capital J, capital C, capital M, 9, capital K, C, AA. Let me give it to you one more time. So it's JCM, my initials, capital J, capital C, capital M, the number 9, the letter K, the letter C, the letter A, the letter A. And you can get to that by going to believemeachieve.com and clicking on the JCM Academy Master Classes. So the article that I recently wrote was entitled How and Why, giving up control will give you more of it. We'll talk a little more about that as the program goes on. So what reflects around that topic is something called leadership. And there are 9 different, let's say, power areas for leadership. Unfortunately, many leaders don't empower, they disempower. Now, let's talk about why this happens. It happens because their ego gets too big. And they feel like, they're the best at everything and that everything has to be their way. Even if somebody gets something done in a method that's slightly different than theirs and achieves the same or better results, they don't want that. See, that's not a leader. That's a dictator. All right. And so what happens with these people is their brain is here, okay, and their heart is here. When your ego gets so big like that, nobody likes it, but it disconnects the heart, okay? It disconnects the empathy, the emotions of the heart. Now, I've said we should never make decisions solely by emotion alone, especially not business decisions. But we do check in on them a little bit. So, and our heart does keep us in balance, so our logical mind doesn't fall off a cliff. And so when somebody's ego gets too big, their heart just gets disconnected for a little while, or for as long as their ego blows up. And usually their ego will stay like that until A, somebody is reprimanded them, like a higher level of management, or until maybe somebody confronts them. All right, so the first type of power I want to talk about is legitimate power. Legitimate power is often found in organizations, in the hierarchy, and leaders within legitimate power have the ability to influence employees, staff, contractors, etc. So one example of legitimate power is the military, right? If you have a certain rank and there are commanding officers higher than you, you must respect their rank, okay, and abide by their orders and direction, regardless of whether you want to or not. The structure helps to maintain the organization and ensures that everyone is working toward the same goal. But sometimes leaders in military, they get a strong head and they don't respect. I understand why they're trained certain ways, but we have to have a level of respect. And yes, the person greets them, salutes them a certain way, but you don't treat your fellow men and women like dirt. And a lot of companies I've seen that management just steps in there because they want to be a control freak. They want to control, let's say, when you're doing something, for how long, exactly what's part of it, including where you're doing something, as well as maybe what you're wearing. And I know I'm getting excessive here. The problem is this is not directly correlated to the ROI, return on investment. But because the person is a control freak, they just have this sense that they have to do that. Okay? They have to do it. May not be the right thing. And so they basically feel that by them doing this, uh, um, they will gain more control. But what we'll learn as we talk about these different types of power is that the more we try to hold on to something, right? Like let's take a relationship. The more we try to hold on to it, the more we try to, let's say, make it work when it's not going to work, the more it's going to fail. If we let it naturally take its course, there is a higher probability that it's going to succeed. All right. So there's also other types of legitimate power. This could be doctors. This could be lawyers, right? And so they are given legitimate power because of their title. Now, it might be because of their skills, but people in the organization, or let's say consumers, know that these people have this power because of their title. One of my titles is being an engineer. Now, whether I had the skills or not doesn't give me the credibility. The title does, but I like to say that it's real guard. Legitimate power can oftentimes get confused because other people will presume that person knows what they're doing. Like maybe you hire, an architect, and supposedly they know what they're doing, but really they don't. You're only trusting it because they went to school and they got a certificate. That doesn't mean that they're going to do the best work. People come for jobs every day. Just because they have an amazing resume doesn't mean that they're going to be a great candidate. The next type of power I'd like to talk about, it's called coercive power. Coercive power is when someone threatens to do something, or let's say take action by eliciting consequences towards you for something you may have done or not done. A good example of this is we've all been in grammar school or high school, and let's say the first day, maybe you get to, I don't know, let's say it's third or fourth grade, and the teacher says, everyone needs to hand in their homework assignments on time. It's your responsibility to show up, to be here before class starts, a few minutes, to be ready with your books, pens, and pencils, and to have your lesson opened to what we're going to be covering today, and to act respectfully during class and not to talk, right? To raise your hand if you want to say something. And everyone kind of takes that as, okay, it's kind of the groundwork. But then a week goes by and the teacher starts to notice that 50% of the students are not handing in their homework on time. Now, he already said that you have to hand it on time. So now it's been a week, and a week from the start, and Wednesday, actually 3 days after that week, he or she mentions, okay, many of you are not taking me seriously. I've said what I expect in my classroom, that there's to be no talking, there's to be no spitballs, there's to be no airplane throwing, there's to be proper conduct, right? And I also said that you are to bring in your homework and hand it in on time. So when class starts, you should have your homework ready, and I should be able to collect it. I've only received homework from 50% of the class. As a result, since you're not taking me seriously, starting on Monday, since today is Wednesday, you'll have Thursday and Friday to hopefully get in gear. If I don't have homework assignments on Monday on time, anyone who does this will forfeit their lunch playtime. People are like, huh? You will eat your lunch here in the classroom or the cafeteria. And for an entire week, you will stay in the classroom and work on your homework or an assignment that I have that you will do. All of a sudden, the class gets really quiet. I don't know about you, but when you start, let's say, talking about taking away my playtime, there are two things that are very important to younger students. One is their individuality, and the second is their playtime so that they can make friends. So they don't want to lose their recess time, but recess time is only 15 minutes. So if they took away recess time, it was no big deal. You would eat your lunch, which is typically 15 or 20 minutes, and then you would go outside. So lunchtime would consist of maybe another 30 or 40 minutes for you to go outside. Some people would eat really quickly, 10 minutes go outside. And so you'd have to be back online when the bell rang, which was at usually 5 to 1. And then 1 o'clock, everyone would walk inside. So this is an example of coercive power. There's a threat that is going to become a reality if you don't take them seriously and do what they've asked. Now, we have coercive power with the police, right? They do this to keep everyone in order. If you speed, they're probably going to pull you over, and they're probably going to give you a ticket. If you don't wear your seatbelt, they might catch you at a checkpoint. A court has the attorneys and has the judge. If you don't agree with the judge, well, and you're rude about it, then you might be held in contempt of court, and then you might be subject to other penalties and other, let's say, disciplinary actions, community service, etc. So coercive power, oftentimes by management, becomes a dictatorship, like in companies. If you don't reach your quota by the end of the quarter, you're not eligible to get bonuses. That's fair, right? If you don't make your quota a second time, you'll get written up. And on the third time, if you miss it, you'll be asked to leave our company. That's coercive power. Now, there are two types of coercive power. One is direct coercive power that involves telling team members or a class or a group the consequences that will be resulting if they don't do what they're supposed to, which is either to do or not to do, right? The other type of coercive power, so one, as we said, is direct, and it's more with teams and also can be with individuals. There's another type called indirect coercive power. This is power that is presumed. Typically, when you're brought on by HR or management, they go over the guidelines. Now, they don't tell you that you're going to be written up on this, but they go over what the expectations are and the culture of the company and how things are going to work. And if you do things that are wrong, it's going to result in disciplinary action. They might say that, during your workday, you are to be working on tasks only related to business activities unless it's break time or lunchtime. So an indirective, let's say, understanding about that would be I shouldn't be on my phone checking social media in between phone calls if I'm not on a break, okay? If it's lunchtime and I'm on break, I can do that. So that's an example of coercive power in the indirective state. The next power I want to talk about is referent power. This is pretty cool. So referent power means that someone has bestowed you to be a role model. Now, you don't pick whether you're going to be the role model, but what you do is you choose the actions. It's other people that make the decision of whether you're going to become a role model or not to them. So I'll give you an example. I'm sitting here in my cubicle in my office, and there's this guy behind me, and he's playing with Legos and doing all kinds of stuff in between his calls, and hearing him making one of those, and he's like playing with the Legos and like and crashing and all kinds of things. He's like, kind of playing. And one day there is this other guy that sits, let's say, on side of me. I'm making up, and this guy Chris talks to me at lunch. He says, "John, how did you ever get Derek to stop playing with his Legos when you're around?" And then somebody asked the same thing. I said, "Oh, it was simple. One day, I went over to him, and his name was Derek, and I did the two things Dale Carnegie said, which is to get to know their name, and if you don't know it, ask them to say it for you and pronounce it, because that's the most beautiful thing people like to hear is the sound of the name. The second thing I did was I took a genuine interest in him. I asked him how his weekend was, and I learned that he's really into playing pool, and so am I. And we got to talking about that. And also, he's into golf, and he was sharing things about that. And then we talked about some restaurants, and it was really interesting. And when I got to the end of that, I said, "Hey, Derek." And his name is Derek Transtopoulos. And I was pronouncing it Derek Trantopoulos. It's Derek Transtopoulos. He's like, John, you're the first person that actually got my name right. I said, "Well, it's your name." He said, "Yeah, thanks." I said, "Listen, I was wondering if you could help me out a moment." He said, "Yeah, sure. I know you like to play Legos. I do too. I'm working here on phone calls and video conferences, and I'm working on proposals. And every time I'm trying to put numbers together, and then I hear this, it's a little distracting. I love to play with Legos too. However, when we're working here, is it possible that you could maybe not play with them, or at least play with them a little quieter so I don't hear you every time you crash into a building?" He's like, "Yeah, no problem." He's like, "I just kind of killing time. I was getting bored." I get it. And ever since then, he no longer plays with Legos when I'm around. But when I'm not around, he still plays with Legos. So I said, "How'd you do it?" I said, "Take the same steps I did. Get to know him. Get to know his real name. Have a conversation with him. And you'll find they'll actually wind up being a good friend of yours." That's called referent power. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, the power does not get awarded by the leader. It gets granted to them by other people that will see him or her as a role model. All right. The next one, charismatic power. You might have heard of the award in school called Mr. and Mrs. Ingenuity. That's when you're very good at getting to know someone. You can get along with almost anyone. Charisma power or charismatic power has to do with how attractive you are, your charm. I'm not talking romantically now. I'm talking about just how well you attract friends and people, and how much people want to be around you. And when you're very charismatic, everyone wants to be your friend. Everyone wants to help you. The next one is expert power. Now, we talked before about legitimate power. And legitimate power comes by a title, like doctor, attorney, judge, engineer. Comes by the title, right? Or you might get a title because you're vice president of risk, or you're vice president of sales. You have certain power that you can execute because of your title. If you're a store manager, well, you have certain power, like being able to, let's say, conduct refunds, right? Or lower prices. Expert power comes in an organization or with someone when someone has skills that others don't. So if you are an expert at, I'm going to say drawing, okay, and you're an expert drafts person, you're getting that power because of the skills you have. I get my engineering power because of my skills, not because of my title. A title's great, but a title doesn't really give you the power indefinitely. It just gives it with the role. And if you don't have expert power, or the other power, referent power, or charismatic power, that power will just fleet like that. All right. So another type of power I want to talk about is informational power. So I am one of the people in the HR department. There's two other people that are above me, Chris and Mike. We have a vice president of HR, okay? And we have a vice president management director at HR. And I am actually a junior HR manager. So as a junior HR manager, I don't have access to, let's say, everyone's payroll records. I only have access to what I need. So if somebody comes to me with a problem, I can look it up. But what I don't have access to is how we're going to be hiring and firing. So let's just say management decides that they're going to promote me. And now I'm going to be equal to the vice president of HR. So there's going to be two vice presidents of HR because he's traveling a lot and he needs someone else to help him. I said, that's cool. Suddenly, I receive access to the entire HR layoff plan. So what I can do with that is I'm not really allowed to go to my friend and say, hey, who's a machinist, that you're going to be fired in a month. I can go to him and say, hey, George, you're really talented at what you do. And you should look for other opportunities because, I haven't seen you get an advancement here since you've been with the company over 15 years. And you're a crackerjack at this. You should go look at other types of companies that, would jump to have you on their staff. He's like, you really think so? I'm like, yeah. Okay. Can't hurt. Yeah. You still have your job here, of course. Yeah, definitely. So he goes and goes on some interviews. The next week, he comes back to me and he says, John, you won't believe it. I went to such and such and they hired me. They asked when I could start. I said, I might need to give him 2 weeks notice. He says, tell him you can start on Monday if you want. Today's Wednesday. Yeah, all right, I could do that. And I'm so happy for you. You're going to make more money. You're going to be a manager now. You have people that'll be working under you. And I hear you're going to be doing less work and getting more money. That's pretty cool. He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm actually finally going to be a supervisor. I'm going to be the one that directs 50 different people that manage an assembly line in the machining department. I said, wow, that sounds awesome. So now you go back to your HR team. And they said, have you worked out how you're going to be firing some of those people, even some of those people that are your friends? I said, well, George actually is going to be leaving us. He's leaving us. Yeah, he's got a job at this new pharma company down the road. He's going to be their head supervisor machinist managing over 100 employees. So he's going to be leaving us on Monday. So I'm actually going to be saving you guys several $1,000s because he's actually not going to be with us. He said, did you tell him he was getting fired? I said, no. All I did was tell him that he has got more potential than he is giving himself credit for. And he should go look at other opportunities because I know he's worth more money. John, that was amazing. That happened because I had informational power. I didn't break any confidentiality, but I just nudged my friend. And I did this with other people. So looks like we're probably not going to have to fire any of those 10 people. I'm just going to find out what areas they're good in and suggest other places maybe they can go look for a job. John, you're brilliant. But if they decided to take away that information, I wouldn't have that power anymore. Reward power is another one. Companies put together reward programs when people hit sales quotas. A lot of times reward power happens in not-for-profit organizations. It happens in scouting. I'm also an Eagle Scout. And so in scouting, you get rewards. You get badges when you complete certain tasks. That's a reward, right? How about having a ceremony where you recognize the top, let's say, employees in your company? Maybe having a board that says, hey, top employee in management, and maybe you could have something like most kind employee of the month, or most productive employee of the month, or most powerful change agent in the company of the month, or something, whatever. And you could put a board up and people can see that and they can work to try to get on that board. And it becomes a competition. That's pretty cool. There was a story one time with this factory, and this factory was manual. and they were actually making die or dice. And so production was very low. So one day, one of the managers came over and said, "Hey, you know what? You guys should write down your number that you make." Okay. And then the manager at night, so he says, "What's this?" He talked to the day manager. He says, "Oh, they put the number down. Oh, you're trying to have a contest?" No, no, they're just right. "Oh, you want a contest, don't you? Well, my people will beat that number." So now that 10, they were at 20. Then they're at 100, 200. And they had over 80% better productivity. And because of that, they increased their sales by over $1 million. And they each got a permanent bonus, okay, of an additional $10,000 added to their salaries every year. Pretty cool, right? So that's an example of how you can use morale power, okay? Moral leaders live by principles, and employees are inspired by people that others want to trust. And you can become a role model, but someone who's moral, does things for the right reasons. Connection power. Leaders have connection power when they're allianced with influential people they admire. Maybe I'm going to go to the American Association of XYZ. And when I go there, my friend can introduce me to other people and I can make connections with them. And they may now be able to get me into other companies where other facility managers are. That's the power of connection power. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, you know I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It has been a privilege and pleasure to be with you, Sheila, on this show, and all of you wonderful people. I invite you to check out believemeachieve.com for more of my amazing creations that are out there. There's articles. I'm a member of the International Press Association, ladies and gentlemen. There are videos that I publish several times a week. And there's just so much stuff that you can check out that I think you're going to really find helpful. Additional tools that are going to give you insights that you can draw upon in your life to become a better version of yourself. Definitely check out believemeachieve.com. I hope you'll choose to register for our next JCM Academy Masterclass. And remember, if you use the code JCM9KCAA, you'll be able to save some money on the admission. And I think you'll find our JCM Academy classes a breath of fresh air. But I leave you with this. If you're stifled in work and not able to do something productively, check out some productivity music like Jazz Rain Cafe or Tony Stark's productive music on YouTube. Again, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, an amazing rest of your weekend. And you know, I can't wait to be back on the station again next Friday, August 11th. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, do something great with your life so you can celebrate the change. Remember, don't always celebrate the big changes. Celebrate the small ones first, because they'll empower you to get to your bigger ones soon. Thank you so much, Sheila, for having me again as a collaborator on your show. And I can't wait to be with you again next week. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you again, John. And John will be back next week with another exciting episode. And so we will be working together in this collaboration for business leadership and the focus of real estate and property for profits investing. So now I'd like to continue with a little bit about what John shared about and how that actually relates to the real estate industry and your purchasing power during this very interesting time. So, getting into the different types of leadership power that John really explained very well, I want to go into how they play a crucial role in your real estate investment journey. One of the most important things you can do is to make sure whether you are buying or selling your home or commercial property, investing for passive income, whether it's your first home or you have many properties, it is really important to make sure that you work with an agent that has your best interest at heart. And that is going to make all the difference. So you want to make sure that you're working with an agent that has the leadership skills that you need to help you get the top dollar for your sale or to help negotiate the best price for your purchase. And that is something that gosh, it can make all the difference between how much you get for your property for sale or how much you are able to get into a property for. So, legitimate power comes from knowledge and expertise. By educating ourselves about the real estate market, local regulations, and the property trends, we empower ourselves to make informed decisions. And obviously, this may be, if real estate is not your main job, obviously, it is best to work with a professional that has some years of wisdom and knowledge behind them. So for me and my team that I work with, I started investing in real estate when I was 19 years young, buying my first little triplex in Montrose, California. Later, I opened gift stores. The first one I leased at 23 years young, which now feels really young to me. Back then, I felt like I was all grown up, but there's always so much to learn. And so I opened that store, negotiated what I thought was a great lease. I did my own negotiation, not realizing a lot about negotiating a commercial lease. I did get 6 months free rent. And the owner of that property did give me money to remodel to make it really look like a beautiful department gift style store. So it was 5,000 square feet and $5,000 a month, $1 a square foot, which was a lot of money when you're 23. I did have time to make money and learn about that industry. And I realized, oh my gosh, now I'm paying a whole lot of rent every month when I could be putting that money toward buying a property. So the minute that first, after the 6 months of free rent, after that was over and I had to start paying that rent, luckily I had great marketing. And learned a lot about how to run a business really fast because I needed to get that rent money going. And I started to do well. But my goal right there on that first day of writing that huge check, my goal was to start buying my store properties from then going forward. So I started to save. And that's how I got into real estate. I ended up buying for other buildings and having my stores, additional stores in those locations, all in Southern California. And with that buying, I learned the 1031 exchange and how to buy and sell and what to hold on to and how to sell without having to pay capital gains. It's basically deferred capital gains with a special program called a 1031 exchange. And I ended up helping many other store owners to do the same because they were like, hey, you know what? That's a smarter move. I want to do what you're doing. So if you have an agent that you can work with, and I'd love to work with you if you're in California or anywhere across the US, I have a group of handpicked agents that I work with. When I refer you to another agent, I am your backup guide and I make sure that I connect you with an agent that is going to list your property or help you find your property with the same care that I would have because that's very important to me. So you want to make sure that you have somebody that actually has invested themselves if you're looking to invest, that actually owns their own property and knows that whole maintenance, upkeep, all the different experiences of being in the business of running property for profits or even do they even have their own home? So these are important questions to ask and that's something that you could be looking for. Now, The next power we talked about was the power of there's coercive power that refers to using incentives or penalties to influence behavior. So in real estate, understanding negotiation tactics and using them ethically can give us an advantage. So if you are a buyer, you want somebody that's really good at negotiating for you. And that's whether you're selling or buying. You want someone who is going to have your ethically have your best interest at heart. That is very important. So you want to make sure that you're with somebody that has a good track record of negotiations. And that is very helpful. I've negotiated so many commercial leases and homes, selling and buying over the years, many, many contracts, working with a diverse group of people. And that is something that is a priority because it has to be done ethically. And you have to make sure that your agent, whatever agent you work with, has your best interest at heart. And they do have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure to protect you in that sense. But you want to make sure to interview whoever you're working with so that you do have an aligned value system and make sure that everything is done ethically and properly. Now, referent power is all about building trust and rapport. As investors, we need to create strong networks, whether you're potential buyers, sellers, or fellow investors. So, an example is if you are working with me on, let's say, a sale. For instance, if you are selling your home or property and I am your listing agent, I am going to make sure that we have proper photos, that staging is done, that your home is picture perfect for the top sale that you can get for the market that we're in. I'm going to make sure that your listing gets out to, and this is something you want to look for. You want to make sure that there's great marketing and that there's connections. So usually I'll have a few buyers in mind. And an example is I have a friend who's selling her home, and she just mentioned it to me and said, "Okay." And before even she's getting ready to list it now, and we're already going to be able to bring her a couple of potential buyers to view her home. And so that's how it works. So you want to make sure that you have somebody that is very connected and can bring investors or home buyers in so that you get your sale as soon as possible, especially in this market. So that's something else to look for. You want someone that has expert power that comes from specialized knowledge. Becoming an expert in specific niches within the real estate market can open up unique investment opportunities. So, definitely, I love to work with other agents when I handpick an agent to refer you to if you are in another state or in a different part of California and I'm not there for you to work. I can refer you to a handpicked agent that has the skills. They've been investors, they've been in the market, they've been real estate agents long enough where they really know what they're doing and they specialize with exactly what you're looking for. So that's what I do. And I make sure to guide and oversee the process to make sure that you're very happy with the process. So that's important. Now, for me personally, I have, like I said, been in the industry so many years. So I actually teach real estate commercial investing and 1031 exchanges to real estate agents who are learning to invest and do these exchanges for the first time. And it is just something that I've done my entire life that has really blessed me and blessed my family, but I also enjoy it. And my most important, special part of the industry is helping people find their homes, or you might have somebody that's trying to buy their first home. And nothing makes me happier than helping someone get into a really good home that they love and that they can afford, because that's going to make the biggest difference long term in their life, in their relationship, in their family life. and their ability to build equity. It's really important to have an agent that's going to help you find the home that's going to hold the best value. Market with interest rates fluctuating, it will go up and down, but you want to get into a place that's going to be what you're looking for and that's going to hold the value. And so that's again back to somebody that really is an expert in their field and knows the real estate market like the back of their hand. Now, the next thing is the informational power. So, the informational power is about access to crucial data. Now, in today's digital age, being tech savvy and using data and analytics can give you a competitive edge. That is really important. You want to make sure when we go into real estate, whether you're buying, making offers, selling, you're going to base your pricing or your offering on the comps. And you need to have an agent that obviously is able to give you a very fair picture. If somebody comes in and tells you, yes, I can list your home for a very big amount, let's say $1 million, but all the homes in the area that are the same home as yours are selling for 8 or 850, then realistically, you're not going to get $1 million unless you're throwing in like something else really special. So you have to be realistic about what you can get for your home. And so that's where you want that data so that you're able to price it at a point where you're making the most possible amount for your sale. And you're also able to sell it as fast as you need to sell it because we still are having some interest rates going up. And so that's something that's really important to think about when you are getting ready to sell your property. And I want to go to the other side of things, not just on selling, but if you are buying your property and you are investing, maybe you're selling a home or getting ready to sell and list your home. It's really worth scheduling a consultation to find out with a good real estate agent what the comps are, what you can get for your sale. And there may be, depending on where you're moving to and what your next goal is, a strategy where you sell and then get all cash to make your next purchase and wait, or you can do a special bridge loan into a new home, depending on what your patience factor is and how you want to do that. So that is something that you want to review all your options with your agent to make the best possible decision and save the most money because you make your money in the buy, obviously, in any market. And we're getting into the moral power that John talked about. Moral power is centered on doing what's right and ethical. So as investors, we must prioritize honesty and integrity to build a reputable brand. And so you want to make sure that you're working with someone that has the aligned morals and that is able to really be honest with you and has complete integrity about everything that they're guiding you through each step of the way in order to save you time and money and get your property purchased or sold as quickly as you would like. Next is connection power. Now, connection power lies in building relationships with influential individuals. Partnering with the right agents, contractors, and professionals is key to success. So I'm just using myself as an example. So any good agent, this would be for anyone, you want to make sure that they are going to market that listing. If they're listing your property, they're going to share it with other agents. They're going to do a caravan. They're going to do open house. They're going to go ahead and make sure that all the agents in their office and other fellow offices know about your home, about that listing. And so it's very important and super helpful because I might know 3 or 4 people that are looking to buy in the same area that I'm doing a sale in. And usually I do, or I have connections that do. And so that helps to expedite the process. And so having someone that's connected in the community help represent you is going to also be huge for your success. Now that we understand these leadership powers, I want to talk about how surrendering, that other part of it is surrendering to the flow, can benefit us in real estate. Surrender doesn't mean relinquishing your control, it's more about being adaptable and open to opportunities. So that surrender looks different in different economies. Right now, with our interest rates going up, it's a little different. And obviously, cash is always queen. And don't think that something's not possible, because if you have somebody that's going to help you hunt for what you're looking for, if you're buying, or help make sure to get you the best possible sale price, that's your goal. And then it's not about the economy as much as the opportunity. And I want to just grab a drink of water. So, I want to share a little bit about some opportunities that sometimes, if you're an investor, you may not think about, but I love. There is the exploration of the Airbnb rentals. I am a super host with some California properties that I do rent out on the the vacation rental platform. And there is another phenomenal opportunity, and that is creating residential care facilities, because we do have a very large portion of our population is in that senior stage and needs some residential care. And that property, if you create a residential care facility, can make you quite a bit more than you would ever be able to rent out the property for. Even if you're going to need to hire licensed people to help run that home, but you will be making far more money, and you will also be in contribution, because you're going to be helping people that really need care. And some of these places are so overpriced. So if you offer the fairest price, you're still making a huge profit. And there's such a high demand and need right now that it is a great way to use property for profits and also giving back to the community. So I love that idea. That's something I'm actually working on right now with a client, and she already has two of these residential care facilities, and now she's going to buy two more homes, and they pay for themselves. She's able to pay off the mortgage fast and continue investing. She loves helping people and working with the population that needs this type of care. So she treats these people so well and gives them many amenities that other places don't have. I've actually visited both of her homes, these residential care facilities, and thought, oh my gosh, I have, if I had elders that I needed to place, I would definitely want them in a home like that, because it just does feel like home and even better. So that is another. If you don't love the rental, vacation rental, there's another one. And actually, my Airbnb, well, I won't say that name, but let's say actually my vacation rentals, all as a super host, many of them are corporate rentals. And so I usually have people that are in California. They may be in the entertainment industry and need to only be here for a short term, 6 or 8 months. Or I also have travel nurses that stay, and they stay for 3 to 5 months usually. And that just is less turnover. They're in a home that feels like their home. They're very comfortable, and there's less work on my part as a super host. Yet everybody is happy, and you do get a little bit more, and you have less turnover, less issues. with maybe parties or bothering the neighbors, because these are working professional people. So corporate housing is the way to go if you're doing the vacation rental, if you want to make it really easy on you. So working with a competent team is essential. My team of incredible agents is here to ensure that your goals are met no matter where you are in the United States. I like to think of working in real estate and helping people to make their investments helps you to achieve some passive income that leads to generational wealth. And so investing strategically and accumulating this passive income can lead to a beautiful future for you and your loved one. And I love to work with people from just from the start all the way through, creating a long investment strategy that will bring you generational wealth. So that is what I had to share with you today. And again, we will be back next week with John again, sharing about some business leadership tips. And thank you all. Before I wrap up, I do want to leave you with a call to action. I am Sheila Mac. I am your property investment coach and strategist. I also do coaching if you just wanted to have a strategy session about thinking about how to best invest in your properties. Whether you're in Southern California, Las Vegas, or anywhere in the United States, you can work directly with me to achieve your property investment goals. So to book a strategy session or start your journey in real estate, you can visit my website. That is sheilamac.com, or give me a call at Keller Williams Beverly Hills. And if you're watching, the number is shown is listed, and that number is 310-432-6400. Thank you again for tuning in, and we will see you all next week. Thank you again for tuning in to the Sheila Mac Show, reality at its finest, and also getting to know our special guest who will be collaborating with me on business and leadership while I share more about property for profits and investing from your first home to generational wealth, right here on NBC's Sheila Mac Show on KCAA Radio and on all major podcasting channels. So we hope you tune in again next week.